Hello everyone, welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, Vice President calls for collaboration among petroleum industry players to build petroleum refineries in Africa. Also ahead, economist Professor Godfrey Bokwin is asking government to be moderate with its economic projections ahead of the 2021 budget presentation so that expectations are not dashed. We'll hear why he's urging caution. And tonight on the Joy Business Van, we'll tell you the story of one of the country's successful versatile fine artists, Mohammed Audu, as we celebrate Ghana Month. Beautiful. Thanks for joining us. Details right after this break. Welcome back, everyone, to Business Live. We begin with the Ghana International Petroleum Conference, a big event today. We discuss the petroleum downstream industry as well as after. Well, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is calling on the petroleum industry players in Africa to consider partnerships in building storage facilities and refineries. His call follows the protectionist moves adopted by some major oil-producing countries and the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the Vice President, the establishment of such facilities will help the continent to be self-sufficient in such events when national oil companies may not be able to meet the demand of the continent. He made the call in his opening address at the virtual petroleum conference hosted by the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors Ghana.
COVID-19 pandemic and the protectionist interventions by major suppliers to Africa is a wake-up call for African nations to cooperate more in building a self-sustaining continent. While national refineries may be commercially unsustainable in some cases, we should be cooperating in the development of regional assets, including refineries and logistical assets, to achieve the economies of scale required for commercial viability. This drives productivity and puts our able youth to work, which in turn preserves and enriches their dignity. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is set to become the largest free trade area in the world, with a market of 1.2 billion Africans. It is expected that Africa's combined GDP of $2.5 trillion will reach $29 trillion by 2050, riding on the back of the AfCFTA and an expansion in intra-African trade from its very low base of some 15%.
Well, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Wemkeli Meni, is optimistic various plans put in place by the African Union to move industrialization to the next level will support major transformation in the petroleum sector of Africa.
The petroleum industry, without value addition in the petroleum industry, the development of a beneficiation capacity in Africa, the trade that we seek to boost in Africa will not be achieved to the same level as we would if petroleum industry was part of the value chain of Africa's industrialization. The petroleum industry is absolutely an integral part of Africa's industrialization. As we seek to develop a refinery capacity, as we seek to develop a minerals beneficiation capacity on the African continent, it is absolutely critical that we do so, leveraging on the African Continental Free Trade Area and leveraging on the markets that it opens in Africa. We should strive to be more of a net exporter than a net importer of refined petroleum products. We should strive to make sure that we rely less on the exportation of crude oil to other countries for them to refine our products for us and sell them back to us. This is what the African Continental Free Trade Area is all about.
All right, so you heard that the Secretary General of the AFTA Secretariat, Kelly Mene, addressing the Ghana International Petroleum Conference on AFTA and the downstream petroleum sector here in Africa, how various countries can benefit from it. Right here. Ongoing is a talk with Ghanaian businesses on what AFTA means for them, and a program organized by Imani Ghana and GIZ. We want to take you there to listen to excerpts of the conversation that has been taking place today.
Is enforcement, and we have declared this year a year of enforcement, but we believe enforcement itself only helps when it hits the pocket. So within a week or so, you see every day on the front page of the Daily Graphic and other news media, the available standards we have and our mark of conformity. But in addition to that, what we have offered is that rather than compete with our sister agency, the Food and Drugs Authority, we have harmonized the way we work to have a one-stop shop. And I'm pleased to say that the Ghana Export Promotion Authority has also joined the conversation. That for exporters, they should just go to GEPA and we would meet behind the back screen and do what it takes, because it's frustrating. Go to GEPA, go to Ghana Chamber of Industry, go to FDA. It's unneeded stress. So those are two things. We're also offering what we call graduated certification. The FDA is doing progressive licensing. How do you bring the lowest of the low onto the chain? And as we speak, thanks to SECO and the Swiss government, we now are translating our cashew standards into pictorial forms. We are doing the same for shea butter. We are doing the same for shea butter, cashew, maize, okra, garden eggs, bitters, and a few other products. So that if you want to export bitters, there is a standard. Fortunately, it meets any international standards. And even though I say it jokingly, we even have standards now for aquatation. So if you want to export aquatation, talk to us.
So that was a while ago, that forum being held by Imani and GIZ on what the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement means for Ghanaian businesses. We'll bring you more from there subsequently. While in other news, economist Professor Governor Bokpin is asking government to be moderate with its economic projections so that expectations are not dashed. President Akufo-Addo, in his address to the country Tuesday, projected a growth rate of 5% for 2021. How government hopes to attain that will be outlined in the budget presentation slated for Friday. Professor Bokpin has been outlining some of the areas government has to tackle to facilitate quick post-COVID-19 economic recovery.
Moderate with our expectations because COVID has done a lot of havoc to our economy. We are not alone, even though in terms of the real impact, we can see differentials across the continent. But broadly, the impact is very pervasive. To that extent, in the presence of higher expenditure and new expenditure patterns have emerged. That has to be contained. In the face of collapsed revenue envelope and ballooning public debt, there's the need for government to look at the macro framework in order not to throw it overboard and create instability. To that extent, I would urge that we are a bit cautious in terms of our expectations. Of course, you could get disappointed anyway, because budget at its baseline it represents intentions. We cannot substitute that for accomplishment. Beyond the presentation of the budget, that is where work starts. How do we convert all the expectations and the projections into actual and all of that? Just look at what happened in 2020. A couple of months before 2020, let's say November, we presented the 2020 budget. We were very hopeful. The assumptions were there. We'll grow GDP by 6.8 or 6.5%. Revenue grew by this. 3 months into the implementation of the budget, COVID hit, and all the assumptions could no longer hold, and we had to revise that, and growth decelerated sharply.
So these are projections. We must be modest.
There is the need for government to anchor the expectations of the private sector in this budget and align that with the takeoff of the AFCFTA in terms of how the budget creates the enabling environment for Ghanaians to take advantage of the opportunities that are inherent in the AFCFTA. So to that extent, the signaling effect from there is particularly important for all of us. And we know that government first takes from the citizens in terms of taxes and then provides whatever they want to provide. But we also do know that given the impact of COVID-19 on the private sector, their cash flow generation and all of that, we must be very careful in burdening the faithful few. What do we do then? Government must take a hard look at the exemption regime and make sure that we rationalize the exemptions so that particularly multinationals that are in tax-paying position that are not doing so because of the way the exemption regime is structured is actually addressed. How do we block the leakages in our revenue envelope? Government must also signal a lean government as a response to the impact of COVID-19 and make sure that we reduce unnecessary budget on expenditures that we can actually eliminate both at the executive level, judiciary, legislature, and all of that, so that we can free our fiscal space to do that which has to be done to make sure that Ghana is able to take advantage of this.
Well, we're going to hear next from another economist who believes that government's target of 5%, which is higher than what has been projected by the IMF, is attainable. Courage Mate with Data Bank Research says attention must be paid to the manufacturing sector, however.
We will not be so quick to roll out the possibility of recording a 5% growth in 2021. And I mean, first of all, if you look at our own quarterly report, which we published in the first quarter of this year, specifically in January this year, we observed and projected that growth for 2021 could range between 3.9% to 4.9%. And so if the government is seeing their growth forecast around 5%, well, that won't be too different from the upper band of our own projection, which is 4.9%. And I would not be quick to rule out their 5% growth expectations. And there are a number of reasons why we should not be that bearish on the growth outlook, even though we need to be cautious. The first point to note is that the economy contracted in the second quarter of last year and in the third quarter of last year at least. Now, based on these contractions, this low base has been created and it will serve the basis for calculating the growth rate in 2021. And when the base is low, the change is higher. And so just on the basis of statistical phenomenon, a favorable base effect, we could see growth rebounding strongly in quarter 2 2021 and possibly in quarter 3 2021, and that could support the average growth for 2021. But having said that, if you also look at the sectors that contracted last year, one of the key sectors that contracted is manufacturing, recording an average contraction of over 5% during the first 3 quarters of last year. Now, that means that just as the economy continues to reopen, manufacturing activities, normalization of activity in the manufacturing sector should take place, and that should support growth. But then again, if you look at or listen to what the president said, there is the plan to start investing under the Ghana Cares program. Manufacturing sector is penciled as one of the sectors that they want to start investing in. So it means that if government invests in the manufacturing sector, not only would normalization of economic activity result in a recovery in growth in the manufacturing sector, but the additional investment in the sector.
The thoughts of Courage Mate there. Well, the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association is calling on government to provide real estate developers some tax incentives ahead of the budget presentation on Friday. According to the Vice President of the association, Engineer Stephen Deborah Ablometi, tax rebates, duty waivers, among other incentives, will help estate developers to contribute at least 2 million housing units a year to curb Ghana's housing deficit.
It's actually a glut in the high-end property delivery because each and every one of us want to engage in development where they can actually make some returns. But the point is we have a lot of demand for buyers for affordable housing. People are not interested in developing this affordable housing for able Ghanaians who are ready to take delivery of these houses because of lack of motivation and incentives that is associated with that particular segment. So what we are looking forward for government to do for us, government having come out with strong initiative of set up set up a whole ministry that will focus on affordable housing to be able to deliver housing to Ghanaians. We're looking forward that we should be able to have some incentives coming out of this, for developers getting things like tax rebate, getting things like import duty waivers, developers who actually focus on affordable housing development, just so that we'll have the motivation to deliver housing to Ghanaians.
You're watching our Business Live. Away from the budget, let's do something light, shall we? For Mohammed Awudu, art is not just a money-making venture, but an opportunity to showcase his country, Ghana, to the whole world. He's also inspiring other young people to do same. This Ghana month, we celebrate one of Ghana's successful, versatile, fine artists on the Joy Business Van. Here's a story of Mo Awudu. It's a few days to Ghana's Independence Day celebration, and somewhere at Jamestown in Accra, Mohammed Awudu, a versatile fine artist, is busy at work. He's been contracted by a beverage company, Guinness Ghana, to do one of the things he loves the most, street art. Today, he's telling Ghana's independence story from his perspective and what he wants to see of the country in future. This is what Mohammed, who works under the signature name Mo, does for a living. Mo was born and raised in the Zongo community of Nima. He discovered his artistic skills very early and he pursued it.
I was very young, around the age of 9 or 10 years, back in primary school. So after my junior high, I enrolled to an arts college. So I started discovering that I can make money from art. So from there, I used to do paintings, take them to art center, sometimes at exhibition. That's what I used to pay my fees and all that. So from there, I think I've been doing art every day.
But as Mo progressed, being an artist became more than a money-making venture, but an opportunity to rebrand and affect his community. He called it Reimagine Nima.
I try to put the different cultures that we have in Nima so that people outside will have a better perception about us rather than hearing it from other people. So from there, I think last year I had more than 50 or 100 tourists from all over the world, and now people are free to come to Nima.
Mo's street art in his community is what will shoot up his career. More people started noticing it, and not too long, he would be exhibiting his graffitis at one of Ghana's popular art festivals, Chaluote.
Every year at Chaluote, my work, I think, stands out. When you go around town, when you come like around Jamestown, Nima, when you go to Su, all these places, when you go there, you find my works and people call me and say, thank you Mo for giving us part of you. So I feel like, and I make a lot of I get a lot of contracts to these days that I do for people, and I feel like so proud.
Mo has become one of the most sought after artists by corporate entities like Samsung and international bodies like UNICEF. His skill has also opened international doors, and now Mo considers himself an ambassador for Ghana, projecting the country in a very positive light to the international community.
Yeah, now people come to Nima to learn our ways, our culture, because Nima is made up of all different kind of people from different backgrounds, Muslim, Christian, traditionalists. Everybody can have everybody there. So now people begin to come there and listen to our story. People come there to bring out business.
But the industry still has a long way to go, he tells me, from poor appreciation of art to the lack of support from government. He believes there is more potential that can be tapped.
When you look at our overpass, our city is dry. It's dry. All they put is Ghana flag. We need to represent our history on the world. We need to encourage, know that we have culture. Art is one big thing. It's bigger than music, but people don't know. It's the most expensive thing in the world.
And if you thought that street art doesn't fetch money, our research shows an artist could earn between 3,000 and 60,000 Ghana cedis for a good art piece, or even more. Mo hopes to raise more artists in his community and is looking forward to executing more international projects. Great stuff from Mo Audu there. Right now, it's time for your money tip on Money Lab.
On Money Lab today, we introduce a new word that we have to understand under insurance, and it is called deductibles. If you have been following this series, remember we have explained what insurance is, we've explained the policy itself, we've explained premium, we've explained claims, and we've explained exclusions, that list. And today we want to add to all that we have learned what we call deductibles. Now, deductible is what you pay as a customer when you are making your claim. So the claim is paid by the insurer or the agent or the company. But when there is a deductible as part of your policy, it is something you must pay as part of the claim. And so the next time you pick a policy, check if there is a deductible or not. Because if there is a deductible and they are supposed to pay your claim of say €100, $100, 100 cedi, there is a component of it that is your responsibility to also pay, and that is what is called deductible. Now, if there is a deductible, then you will notice that your premium will not be as high as someone whose policy doesn't have a deductible. So the moment there is a deductible, your premium is quite lesser than another policy that doesn't have deductible. That means that one will be higher. Check